Hello, hello, good evening. This is week 3 of the 13-week fiscal program for American Descendants of Slavery. We have myself, Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Alligator, Chief Blackcoat, Chief Quietwater, as well as Chief Akibalon. And here we focus more so on the first letter in the acronym ADOS, which is American. Today we will have Chief Alligator start off with the 12 steps.
And I'm going to read it from your screen, correct? Okay. Yeah. Should be good to share it. Okay. Okay. 13-week practical program of action for each American descendant of slavery. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, who established that estate. Step 3, what nation and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations? Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then immediately children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, 3, and field trips to ADOS landmarks in that city, county, and state. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 10, the US government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, same year that you got your Congressional Black Caucus. The Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American descendants of slavery no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Have them learn about an American inventor. Have them know about our heroes. They should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to European invasion, militarily and culturally. And step 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming, America, and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Every estate American descendants of slavery live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause. And if I can just interject with this as I close and reading the steps, how you gonna be American and you don't know the documents that are attached to the history of the government that has military occupied you and also military brainwashed you through the school system? I'm done.
Great point, great point. That's the reason why we sit here every Sunday and get into these documents here. Right. Next, we will have Chief Quietwater with the Inventor.
Okay, so the inventor that I chose is W.F. Cosgrove. I actually could not find a lot of information on this person, but he invented the automatic stop plug for gas oil pipes. And the patent number is 313993. The patent date was March 17th, 1885. He was born in, actually, I couldn't find where he was born. So there's not a lot of information on him. So that's really actually all I have. Sorry.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you there, Chief Quietwater. Next, we'll have Chief Blackcoat do the quote for this week. Oh, you on mute there, Chief Black Coat. You on mute.
My bad, guys. Dr. Carter G. Woodson quote. The Negro is in his present plight, however, does not see possibilities until it is too late. He exercises much hindsight, and for that reason, he loses ground in the hotly contested battles of his life. The Negro, as a rule, waits until a thing happens before he tries to avert it.
Oh.
Powerful one.
Strictly reactive.
What's that, Chief Alligator?
Basically, he said we're strictly a reactive group of people. We don't
Right.
forecast and pre-plan nothing.
Defense, no offense.
Correct. Correct. We see that same trend carry out to this day. I'll go ahead with the legal definitions as well. Maroon historical points. 1, American is a native to America. 2, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. 3, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. 4, prisoner of war, POW, person, usually a soldier who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number 5, school, any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. And number 6, education and enlightening experience. The 5 historical maroon points. 1, was a person escaping slavery seeking freedom or breaking the law. 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. And number 5, maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans. And that is the maroon historical point. And of course, we have to get into the Constitution and make sure we're providing proof of claim in regards to what we're speaking and showing you every weekend. So here, let's jump to section 10 of Article 1 in the Constitution. All right, so section 10, Article 1, blow this up a little bit. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So again, as Chief Alligator stated in the 12 steps, we know during the Gold Standard Act, 1971, that's exactly when the money was taken out of this particular government, of this system. So knowing that and understanding this Constitution here reads gold and silver are the only coin, tender, and payment of debts, then what is this current dollar? It has to be nothing. It's make-believe or playing with monopoly money. So again, it's all based off of the faith of the US citizen. Go down here to Article 6. And this is pretty much explains why we read the treaties that we did to make sure that we understand that the treaties are the supreme law of the land. All right, Article 6 here. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound by thereby anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So again, treaties are the supreme law of the land. And this again is stated here in the Constitution. And last but not least, before we get into our readings for today, I love bringing up this here just to show who is the commander-in-chief and pretty much why we are under military occupation right now. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. So if we again go back to January 6th of last year, when the quote-unquote insurrection had occurred, President Trump was still the commander-in-chief, acting president until it was passed over to Biden. If we knowing and understanding that, and understanding that he has control over, again, the Army, Navy, and militia, those people who actually raided the Capitol building were some form of militia, if you think about it. And they were pretty much, what he was doing was trying to calm an insurrection. So again, just knowing a little bit of what was happening there is going to play along. It's going to pretty much give us our identity of where we're going with these documents, these treaties, and this Constitution in regards to understanding our enemy. Going to keep that up because we're going to save that for later. But basically what we're going to be getting into today will be the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Now it's a great question posed by Chief Alligator in regards to, after what we read in the Amnesty Proclamation, as well as the Emancipation Proclamation, that who were these 3 amendments actually for? Were they for prisoners of war, the actual American, or were they actually for the European? So what we're going to do today is pretty much go through a little timeline of showing why we asked that question, So let me go here and pull up this document. So first and foremost, behind me pretty much on my background, that is the 1850 census. 1850 census right there. Knowing this 1850, what is that? We could say 13, we'll just go 11 years prior to the beginning of this Civil War, which it wasn't a war after what we read last week. So we'll just say this rebellion. We understand that there were a good amount of Europeans on this land. And I'm gonna show you all the document here. So we're taking a look here, 1850 census, try to zoom in if I can. So we see here, actually, let me go back. Actually, wait, this will appear more. Are you all still able to see the map here? Or is it stuck on another one? Good, okay. So we see here, according to the US Census of 1850. Now, in this actual document, they break it down between the quote unquote free states and the quote unquote slave states, or the slave holding states. We take a look here, whites in these free states equaled up to roughly over 13 million in totality. And they break it down, color, free color, slaves, etc. We go to the slave holding states, which would be on this portion here. Again, the slave states. We look at whites, 6 million, free colored, 228,000, and then slaves, 3.2 million. So knowing this, basically that there's 19 million Europeans accounted for in 1850, it raises the question of who was exactly on this transatlantic slave trade. I mean, going by the numbers, I think we know who. Matter of fact, we don't think we know who was actually on those ships, on those boats. If you're telling me 19 million, and this is just 1850, again, about a decade before this quote unquote Civil War, they've accounted for 19 million Europeans. That's what these whites here are. So you may ask, like, well, yeah, they was brought over here, but they're still, they had transported over, some African slaves and things of that nature. That's how they got that 3.2. Okay, we can go with that premise, but we also have some documents showing that or who exactly was the slave. And we actually talked about this in our week 12 video. So again, for our viewers to go back and actually reference this, we actually brought this up here in our week 12 video. But this basically flat out explains who the actual slave was. So we're actually going to go back a page to make sure. And again, Library of Congress, all of this stuff is accessible and it's documented within this actual government. It's actually being held, and they don't just put anything in this Library of Congress. So knowing that, if we look here at the end of this page 12, and this is basically a memoir from a European. Let me see. Y'all let me know if y'all can see this. I'm gonna try to zoom in. That looks okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, we'll start here. Everybody is to be well dressed, well housed, comfortable. America is raging against drink, against the exploitation of immigrants, against the fate of the white slave, against anyone who has done anything immoral, against the fate of the white slave. So based off of that accounting that we just saw in 1850 with the census, 19 million. Again, they're stating against the fate of the white slave, but this is basically reading about how there was nothing in Europe or in that European region going from Germany, Russia, there was nothing. They had nothing. Coming over to America, where everything was plentiful, machinery, things of that nature. They didn't have to toil on their hands, pretty much having nothing, no resources in that particular area that they were living in. So against the fate of the white slave. So again, 19 million, and it said whites. We're saying Europeans, so 19 million whites accounted for. So who were actually on these boats, people?
1 + 1 is 2.
Correct. Anybody want to build off that?
No, it's just pretty, it's pretty good for us to pretty much be out here breaking this down. You know, the numbers showing the proof of claim, not really, you know, blabbering off the top, but actually going to these documents and reading it per its information. Yep. It's impossible for those numbers to equal what they are if it wasn't slaves coming out of Europe. Impossible. So who know right now that we know today, yeah, the European men and women are over here picking cotton, getting shit right. with their government over their back.
And great question on great thoughts right there, because again, this is prior to slavery being revolutionized. So there was slavery. We know that from just documents, but slavery was more so for debtors paying to who they owed. You had to have, you know, if you weren't able to pay, you had to come work for me. You had to come pay off your debts through this labor.
Right.
So
just had a little poop with the 13th Amendment, but we're gonna wait till we can get into it.
You're on the right path. Anybody else? Chief Whitewater, Chief Akibalon?
Jump back. Can you jump back to that 1850 census real quick? So now that you've shown that memoir coming out of the Library of Congress, where it clearly admits that a European that was actually on a ship that entered through Ellis Island in the city of New York, he admits that he was part of the peasantry and that America was rebelling against Europe sending their prisoners over here and the fate of the white slave. Now, understanding that and knowing there was no Civil War, this whole shit is a lie. And that's where recovery comes in. Once you understand that there was no Civil War, now you have to look at this document and say, well, who were the slaves?
Right.
Now we have to go into.
And what was it, a rebellion?
World history or universal law. Universal law, as Chief Biko talked about, there's always been slavery on planet Earth. But slavery has always been The borrower is slave to the lender. The most that a person could hope in slavery to pay off a debt was 7 years in the old world. So Afghanistan, any country in Africa or Asia, it still applies. 7 years of bondage. That's how you get your 7 years bankruptcy still to today. That comes from the old world. What the European has attempted to do is revolutionize slavery and make it perpetual for your whole life.
Never ending, right?
Never ending, which is where your 13th Amendment comes in, because it says now I can enslave you and make money off you if I convict you of something.
Right.
But initially, every European that came over here that wasn't bloodline of the We the People that started their government, you came over here with some type of debt to pay back to Europe, because it costs money to put you on a boat, feed you while you're on that water, and get you to Ellis Island. You got to pay that back to the king from what kingdom you came from, Europe. So we're following the story of the money. So
and they totally flipped the script like a 360. They flipped the script, and we thinking that it's us who were in that peasant, position of life. But yeah, they just did a whole 360, and we fell for it.
During the Reconstruction, rewrote the story.
Mhm.
Would you say Reconstruction is what, lie?
Lie. They just, yeah,
Lie.
that's it.
Mhm.
One big lie. That's a long word for lie. Chief of Keebalon, I would love to get your thought on the fact that there was no civil war. That was proved last week based on the document that was read. If there was no civil war, now how do you mentally process the fact that school taught you otherwise?
I just feel like it's a big lie. Like, it's the way to indoctrinate the people, indoctrinate you as you're young. Like, at a young age, you learn that there's a civil war, there's slavery of only Black people and stuff like that. But when you dig deep and learn more, like, and read more into things, you realize that a lot of it's not true.
Right, because the way they taught it in school was during the Civil War, your European nation and the American nation pretty much were tired of warring, and now they wanted to be civil, come together.
Mhm.
Knowing that that's a lie, and knowing that today you have Black Americans, or as we know, just Americans, pretty much putting on their uniform, fighting for this government, thinking, oh, they want to be cool now. But it was I'm guessing a shiesty type of move to just, instead of call it a rebellion, call it the Civil War. So now we're thinking, oh, well, they came together in brotherly hands and put their differences to the side and fought together. It's a big lie.
Yeah.
Right.
And still today, many of us, we put that uniform on thinking that was the war that gave us the green light. Like, hey, we can work together. We can join in the military and we'll do these battles together and, blah, blah, blah. Nah, it's kind of embarrassing on their side for how deep rooted their, I want to say their issue is. Because you got an issue. I mean, right. I get it, get the people confused, lie to them, take everything away from them.
But how deep does it go? Like, I mean, it has went very, very deep. And again, my thing is, of course, you can't reverse time, but just moving forward, having this information and people understanding the real facts, and it's just not a story. You can look this stuff up in the Library of Congress. I mean, it could just change just so much in people's lives collectively as a whole.
Right. Doing that research, because again, we're going to school today, your elementary, middle, high, college, we're studying these things. And then we're coming back on the back end reading a little bit more. And we're like, wait.
Exactly. It's a fictitious story, a fictitious narrative.
That's why people only disclose a little bit. They don't go
6-figure debts over lies.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to school, 6-figure debt. And it's a made-up story.
Mm-hmm.
Can we change
a story based off believing or feelings? My bad.
I was gonna say, can we change the word? Because it's not a school. It's a military brainwashing facility.
Yeah.
Exactly. Brainwashing facility. I like
call it what it is. It's a military brainwashing facility. If you go in at 5 and they release you at 18, they can have you running around the world as a lion thinking you're a hippopotamus. That's what the American is, us. When we come out of 12th grade and graduate, we are lions walking around thinking we hippopotamus.
That's crazy.
We're no longer American. We're
Never
now
knowing,
US.
never knowing who the enemy is. Completely think the enemy is our friend. Would you say, Chief of Cuba
I'm
line?
gonna say hippopotamus are dangerous too. No, I said I'm gonna just house cat because hippopotamus are dangerous too.
You're breaking up kind of.
He said hippopotamus are dangerous too. Yes, they are.
I like that. I like
But the
that.
comparison
I'm gonna
was
say
good because
house cat.
two different spectrums.
Can we go back
Yeah.
to the map one more time so we can be clear of what governments are on this land before we move forward? Okay. And I don't know if you have the image pulled up that I have in the backdrop of the Seminole War campaign. Go up, make it kind of back out a little bit. Okay. Just come in just a little bit more so they can see where American territory. Boom. Okay. Can you put your cursor where it says territory for what we now know as Oklahoma?
Right there.
All right. There was 5 governments there during the Seminole War. We know what those 5 governments were: Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, Seminole, Creek. Then you got the United States government in the Virginia area. If you could scroll your mouse up there. That's the United States government, everything north of Virginia. And then you got the Creek Confederacy in the Southeast region, which is going to be those same nations that are in Oklahoma. It's just that the United States government doesn't recognize us in the Southeast region at this point because you didn't go to American territory. So I'm showing you the circuit so we can fix the machine. How do we fix the machine? We have to go address the people in American territory, i.e. Oklahoma. Why? They have our traditions, they have our culture, they have our language.
Right.
We have to renationalize as a group of people. Why? Because that's us. That's when the families form. Once we get on a governmental platform, then we can address the United States government and make them pay the restitution to those nations that we descend from. They were just forced to move to Oklahoma. I'm hoping we understand that part because you can't get repaired as an individual or a color.
Nation.
Everybody's trying to come up with these new ideas of who we're going to be. No, just go back to who your great grandparents were. Cherokee.
Simple.
Chickasaw. Yeah.
Simple.
So they're not over here, and we're not paying attention to them in Indian territory. They're slick hiding over here with all our culture, all our language, and all our history. And nobody ever talks about them hiding right over there in Oklahoma. They're our biggest enemy. We have to heal as Americans and come together, but that's our biggest enemy because that's our family sitting right off in the cut.
Right there where the Europeans put them.
Yeah.
Sent back getting reparations. Not really doing much better than the average American.
Right.
But sitting back getting and they can't leave out those territories, they're promised to those lands. It's always a great story for me to share. When I was in the military, military bases are huge, garrisons, they're huge. They're training facilities. They're not just where you live. We actually train on those facilities. We used to ride through Colorado Springs on the base, and I would always drive past homes. And I'm like, yo, we out here having live fires, and there's somebody with their fireplace burning some wood in his house. Who is this?
Oh, wow.
When I was in the military, I didn't know what was going on. Now that I'm out and I have recovered and I'm doing the work, those were your people. Those were our family members. Still in those territories, didn't leave just because they built the base. They said, no, we're tired of moving. So they decided to keep those homes on the military bases, and you still train right around them. Those are real family members. Yeah.
Wow.
On bases.
So you shooting rounds, throwing grenades, the whole nine.
Of course, they have it sectioned off because they know, hey, we have people that live here. We have actual families. So yeah, we'll set our degree to be the 90-degree angle, so we're only shooting at one direction, never towards the direction. But we're damn near close. I can look over and see them.
Wow.
If I decided to lose my my mom, so it's crazy.
Still here, you still,
Still there. Like, and they're just being quiet. They're sitting back in the back. I'm not sure why they're being so quiet, what the government has done for them or what they're holding over their heads. But for us to be coming out with this information, I never heard this information until now, until we did the research. So what's holding them back from saying, hey, everybody's still over there, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, we still here, many more places, but why is there a disconnect? Why are we beefing? Why are we still trying to figure out what's going on and this and that, and allowing the European to continue to drop all these nation alarms and more and all these things, Africa, all over the world, to get us off? Why can't we come together and say, hey, we're the same? That's the politics right now.
I don't think a lot of us know about this stuff. That's what I think the main issue is. And I think that's going to be my point this whole class. I just don't think this information is like widespread. Like the fact that we're finding it is good and everything, but I don't think that the average person is just thinking about this on a daily. I feel like the average person, once their family is straight, they probably don't care about whatever. Is that a Yoda cup you're drinking out of?
And you're correct. You're absolutely correct. Because of school, we still send our children to those political brainwashing camps. Instead of what we're doing here at home on Sundays, we're still saying, no, go ahead, baby. Go learn.
The enemy.
Go learn with the enemy. Let the enemy give you their book.
Malcolm X said that too, about letting the enemy teach your kid.
That's what it is. That's why we can't come together.
Yeah.
People are thinking to get the degree, and now they think, oh, I know my history. Okay.
And there's a downside to what Chief Akibalan said. He's absolutely correct. That's part of the brainwashing militarily that we've been conditioned to practice, which is do for self and not build as a group of people. But when you put us on the scale with other groups of people, why are we the only ones that don't have anything? See, so it doesn't work. This idea that I can just make sure I'm straight and make sure nobody else does that. These Indians, these Africans, when they come from Nigeria, everybody pools together. And instead of having to come out in the pocket $5,000 a month, they come out $50 a month because it's a gang of heads. So I get what you're saying, Chief Akibalan, but that's why we've been gentrified. That's why we don't have any neighborhoods, communities. We don't run any business industries no more. We won't play as a team. Everybody just want to be the superstar.
We're in the same predicament now.
And to our, my bad.
No, go ahead.
To our advantage, we are superstars. Every day we do, or every Sunday we do an invention. So I get why we walk around pretty much always, uptight, and I ain't trying to hear that. I already know what's up, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Yeah, you be you. But we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose badly if we don't come together. And when I say lose, I mean goodbye. There won't be any more people that look like me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thanks. Definitely agree. I think that's a good breaking off point to where we can, I guess, kind of get into this 13th through 15th Amendment here. Before we get into that, just want to again clarify, this is the president at the time, Andrew Johnson, and he's clearly saying that the Confederacy that was supposedly fighting the Union in the Civil War was a pretended government. So if they're a pretended government, that means there was no war. So they were just, again, a rebellion. That's all it was. Just the European slave rebelling against the European master. Point blank, plain and simple. That's what it was.
Right. It's funny how the the United States government is pretty much just pretty much disregarding them altogether. Like,
right.
As they should though, because as they should, like,
correct.
Coming up here talking about your Confederates and all this shit. Like, what are you talking about?
And as we read in the actual Constitution, we clearly read it where it says the golden tender, but before that it said no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. So with that in mind, again, this is the European talking to the European. You can't even do this shit, bro. So there is no Confederacy. What are you talking about?
I think we all just need to start faking. Since they faking, I think we all need to just start faking.
We need to be playing.
Yeah,
we
right.
do. We
To
do
play
need to come up
along,
with
make our own
paperwork.
thing,
Yeah,
create our own thing, go by our own thing, and if
they had a
it's
whole
fake, it's
rebellion
fake,
go
but
down.
it's real to
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Totally agree.
Only time we heard about rebellions is when Nat Turners would come together and
Right.
storm. Right, but now we're hearing, oh wait, your white people were rebelling too and killing other white people.
Mhm.
So here's a question. If
That's
it was a pretended Confederate, the question is, who's the real Confederate?
Mm.
You know, you're looking
the
at them on the
Creek Confederacy.
Correct. Go ahead, Chief. Keep going.
I just said the Creek Confederacy.
Right. So
For sure.
if Europeans are telling the peasantry, you're not Confederates, then who is the Confederate? Everybody on this channel.
Mhm.
So they're lying.
Correct.
They're
Correct.
lying. So now you look at a redneck and you did that. Like I said, I ask them, if I see one with the flag on their truck, I ask them, why you want to be my ancestor so bad?
Mhm.
And they'll have a look on their face like, and then I start explaining to them, you know, you're not American. And no matter how mad he wants to be on the inside, it's the truth. Right?
And they know
They
it.
know
The
it.
thing about it is they know.
They know.
You know,
I have-
they are not confused by they know.
I was in the military, so I've
Oh.
had made great relationships with a lot of Europeans, and to this day, there's always going to be that under the table understanding, like that's my brother because we
Right.
warred together. When I'm talking how I talk on the Twitter, some of those guys still follow me. Not a word. Call me
Wow.
out on it.
Mhm. I'm
Say
lying,
I'm
call me
wrong.
out.
What am I talking about? What are you
Correct.
talking? Nothing. Zip. Nada.
Can't say
Because
nothing.
they know. Yeah.
You should send links to these videos and then see if they say stuff.
You say what?
You know, I'm not.
You should send them the links to the videos.
I love them, so I'm never on a in your face type deal because there's that understanding. Like that's my brother.
Yeah. Right.
I
I'm
do
just
understand. We both understand. Like, okay, yeah, he's
What's
understanding.
understood don't need to be
He's
spoke
getting the
about.
understanding that he's
Chief Quiet
American.
Water.
I'm pretending to be American. There's gonna be a conflict,
Right.
but you know it's never gonna be no in my face because they know what's up. There's no they just saying, oh man, this American is waking up. Yeah,
Because you
You've been
can't
lying.
control people like that.
You brought a good point, a good example there, Chief Black Coat, because during this prior video, we had somebody come and step on the scale.
Saw the
Right.
comments.
He said, you know, he went back to his lineage and said, oh, I had family members, you know, within the Union Army, things of that nature. And then we put him on a scale and he answered it. He answered, he was able to trace back Germany. I believe it was France. It might have been France. It might have been something else, but he was able to, again, go back to saying, this is where I'm from. I'm a US citizen. So like you're stating, they
That's the
know
key.
this, and they respect it when we know it. We know.
Pull
who
it
we
up
are.
real quick for us so it can be accurate.
Correct.
But there's one thing he did not answer. There's one thing he did not answer in your questions. Was your ancestors from peasantry, slaves, or royal bloodline?
Correct.
In other words,
That is
your
one thing.
bloodline doesn't come from that we the people group, then your people came over here either on a 7-year debt payment term, or they came over here as slaves. That's the one question he did not answer. That's his shit, because that's your bloodline.
Same thing though. 7-year debt is still slavery.
Correct.
It
It's
is
just making it sound better.
remixed.
Exactly.
He's
That's
from
like saying you are an underwater scrub technician. You a janitor. Just say that.
right.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we're not coming off out of the woodwork.
I don't
The
know if
video,
it's
he
going-
said his family came from Germany and Ireland, fought at Gettysburg, 68 PA, the Irish Regiment. So these are European militaries he's speaking of, right? There is no white body or no black bodies in these uniforms at all. I think they were called, I actually did research before I got my name from a red coat. That's what they were called over there on the European side, red coats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Chief Black Coat.
Right.
So, but yeah, just throwing it out. He came from Germany, Ireland, saying his grandfather, his grandparents fought in the Union, military. That's fine. That's what we're doing. We're trying to get the recovery going, brother. Thank you.
Exactly.
Correct.
But he missed the most important question, Chief Black Coat.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah,
Why did they?
peasantry.
What were the terms of them coming over here?
But why didn't he answer that question? Because he's not a part of that with the people. I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Mhm.
We
But
don't
I'm
want to talk
sure
about
he
that.
knew. I'm
Yeah.
sure he knows.
Oh yeah.
At
Oh,
work, when I'm in these European homes, a lot of them are big on history, huge on history. I'm talking about some of the most beautiful pictures you can find from their ancestry. And honest to God, yeah, they were the slaves, man. They were in fields picking cotton. You can see the rags, the clothing they would wear, very small and very just pass me downs. You can tell it's pass me downs versus all the inventors who are we're giving out
Right.
super
That's
top
why
man,
you got
like
that term rags to riches. That came
rag.
from
Mm.
European story from way back when.
I like how we
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
yeah. Rags to riches. Wow.
And in the art world, you can tell their history because I feel like since I'm in art, I feel like that's like the best way to see real history.
100%.
You can tell in a lot of the old paintings of Europeans that they look like peasants. They were savage. They was killing each other. They was doing amputations without anesthesia. They was raping each other. They was having incest. They were just like uncivilized people.
all of that is painted too.
That was a great point, Chief of Cuban, because a lot of my information definitely comes from pictures. I like to see it, like, oh snap, that's what y'all were doing. Like Chief Alligator mentioned earlier today about the sculptures, the sculptures pretty much out there in DC. That's proof right there.
What sculptures in DC?
So if you ever go to the District of Columbia and walk around that 10 square mile area, it jumped out at me as I was taking images of those different buildings. The statues or the memorials in front of those federal buildings, in that Shakespeare library area, in that Thomas Jefferson library area, it's all homosexuality. It's all homosexuality. Little kids naked, grown men naked, the water coming out there, you know what I'm saying? And the little kid right up on it's all homosexuality. So that was back when the Mike Brown thing went on. So here we are 6-7 years later, it's wide open. Going back to what Chief Keelan said, you could be whatever the hell you want to be right now in this make believe. They're trying to tell you
it's not even that. People just don't pay attention to the details.
That's what I was about to say. Like
even with like the thing with what is it called? The effeminization. I think that's what you call the black man.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff stems from like European culture, because even if you look at some of the people that are in like the limelight that are like into that stuff, they look like they're more adapt to that. When you see and this is just how I feel, when you see a black person that's a black woman that's a man, a real man, you can tell just from the jump, like, oh, that's a man. You can kind of tell. But when it comes to like Europeans, it's harder for you to tell if that's a woman, if it's a real man.
I see what you're saying, because they've been doing that. So accustomed to to that role.
What I was about to say, but what I was saying is that's not our stuff that we go through is just put on to us. It's not really our life. And I feel like that's what gentrification is too. It's like when they're getting their land stolen back in Europe and getting pushed out of their homes,
breaking up
and stuff, because that's what they know and that's what they feel like they should be doing.
Makes sense. Y'all made a great point in regards to, just this whole make-believe land. We're in Alice in Wonderland / The Matrix. So it's
the
like
Simpsons, the Simpsons comes on.
Like,
the Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, like this whole imaginary world we're living in right now. And with that, they're talking about this what is the act called again? It's the For the People Act. They're really trying to push that, especially with Martin Luther King birthday just passing on the 15th and Martin Luther King Day on tomorrow. They're really trying to push that initiative, this For the People Act. And like, who is this for? Why are we stressing voting rights when I thought that's something that was given up to us in 1965. So like, why are we, we got to get the voting and get these things out here. So I actually pulled up the actual bill. And I want to point out something to the viewer. because if we actually vote on this, people, I don't vote because I'm not about to participate into this this rat race. But if we actually, as a collective, our people vote on this, we're signing away our own, we're signing our own demise. We're signing our own demise.
Wait, what is it?
So this here is the For the People Act. And this is what they're trying to get passed in Congress and the Senate here. So if we just scroll down here to section, well, this section here, subtitle Voter Registration and Modernization. If we look at right here, requires chief state election officials to automatically register to vote any eligible unregistered citizens while protecting from prosecution ineligible voters mistakenly registered, deem state agencies and federal offices within a state as contributing agencies for the purposes of registration. So let's break this down here. Register to vote any eligible unregistered citizens. Okay, citizens who just have been registered to vote. Okay, that makes sense. They'll be automatically registered upon voting day. But this section here, while protecting from prosecution, ineligible voters mistakenly registered. Eligible voters, while protecting from prosecution. Who is that? That sounds like non-citizens.
Right.
Being registered to vote either mistakenly.
Wow.
That seems pretty broad. Like why are they so broad with this? Why not just say ineligible or just specify? Again, we know at a felony you can't vote. And
right.
If you're a non-citizen, but protecting from prosecution. So they're getting protections, these people who aren't even citizens yet, our people, we can't even get the George Floyd Act passed.
Exactly.
But they're willing to protect non-citizens, illegal aliens, illegal immigrants in regards to even voting as well.
So translation, let's do the financial story on that. I had to find me a square on this one because at this point it's all the way live. We know the game is over with, right? So you didn't get any financial resources in the first 100 days that Biden was in office. Is that correct?
Correct.
You didn't get any specific federal protection from the government as well while in Biden's first 100 days, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Congress doesn't do anything, a good run business, a good managed business does not do things haphazardly. There's always a okay. Before Joe Biden came in office, he had a 90-day forecast or 100-day forecast. These are the things, these are the goals of things I want to get done the first 100 days. Our group was not on his 100-day forecast. This was in the plan. Don't give him anything, but see if you can get a campaign going to make them want to vote, to let everybody else be able to vote from here on out while you still get nothing.
They're using our manpower against us. That's how I feel.
They have to get you, and great point, Chief Akibulon, that's how they contract. They have to get your consent to fuck you over. Come on down here and vote for this For the People Act that you never asked for.
Right.
We were talking about reparations and the George Floyd Act. Where the fuck the For the People Act come from? But they're giving you a different act because they never intend on giving you anything specific. Why? You're a prisoner of war.
I was just gonna say that it's all political theater for us. You know, we can participate in everything that goes down, but nothing specific for you.
Nothing.
True banana neglect at all times.
We
Our
don't
group gotta
congregate.
Our group gotta start paying attention to these things. Chief Alligator just pointed out a great point. You know, those first 90 days with Biden, you know, me learning that being the most critical times where Biden pretty much has this laid out plan of what he's gonna do moving forward. We have to understand, okay, whenever these presidents come around, what are you going to do specifically? When it's time to sign off on things, he comes on TV and they do all this political theater things. What is he signing specifically for you, the American, not Black people? Because now that's a big ball of people now. What is he doing specifically for you, the Americans still in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, even the one, I'm not sure what's going on with that Mississippi, but for you specifically, the average working American that goes to work every day and breaks their back to make ends meet, what are they doing specifically for you?
Nothing.
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 And I think that's something that I realized, well, not even I think, I realized too, all of the stuff that gets passed, like in front of us is all just in paper. We just don't, like, we don't pay attention to these things. And I feel like if we're gonna be included in these things, we need to come together. Like even with the whole voting thing, like Black Coach said, we're voting and everything, but we're all voting for different things. But if we all came together, even if they had a plan, we all came together. And if like we were just saying, like if we got to make our own thing, but we come together and we have a structured plan, none of this stuff, I feel like a lot of this stuff wouldn't be able to happen. But the fact that our energy is all over the place, we don't have a solid goal as a people that's used against us. They can take a large chunk of our people and use it against. Like I feel like a lot of us have different views now based off of who we believe should be doing certain things, or who speaks for us and who runs things for us and who we go to get certain resources from and everything. I just feel like it's about our numbers and coming together, like we said earlier.
And that's the thing too, like we have a collective or
said something. My bad. Chief of Keyblind, you just said something, and I'm glad that you realized that a group of people that fail to plan will fail. So what you're really saying is we will not come together collectively for whatever reason. The reason don't matter. But if you cannot come together and take thoughts out of your mind and put it on paper and have a goal that you're working toward, that's why we lose as a people. That's all you're saying is, can we all come together from different industries, different walks of life, and agree on things? If you cannot, it's going to fail.
Not even just agree on things. Can we come together and work together to hold this government accountable?
Right.
Can we do that? Can
because
we stop
again,
pretending?
if we go back to what we, I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, if we go back also to what we have previously read in the previous weeks, they were not all in agreement. They were not really all on the same page, but they all knew that there was an end goal that they had to accomplish. So it's not even that hard for us we may not agree on every single thing and all the intricacies to push the needle forward, but let's get together. Let's come up with that goal that you're talking about, and we can come up with something in the middle, somewhat of a plan to get to that point.
Right now, we're just a laughing stock. They take us. They don't even acknowledge our seriousness. We can get serious, but it's not even acknowledged because it's not enough.
Yeah,
they can look at us and see we're scattered.
Because we have entertainers, athletes, preachers to represent us when it's time to get serious. And I wouldn't take us serious either.
And Chief Aquilan said it. This is all paperwork.
Yeah.
But we got bodies in these doors or in these rooms that are around all these big paperwork writers.
Right.
And they're just kicking their feet up like, okay. Nah, go to that table and say, hold on, what about my folks? You giving the Asian, the Mexican, I'm hearing about Siberians now. I'm like, what's going on?
What?
It's not going to happen.
Where they came from.
It's not going to happen for this reason, Chief Black Coat. Let me just keep it 1,000. This is a be, do, have. Who do I have to be? What do I have to do to have what I want to have? When your spirit is poor, your being is poor. So these people that are going in a negotiating room that are speaking on our behalf, they're speaking from a poor being. So when they tell you, oh, you need to get more seats in the House and more seats in the Senate, and we need to get this and get that. Asian, look at your competition. Asians don't talk like that. You cross a line, you killed a lot of them last year in Atlanta. Next thing you know, every member in Congress voted to pass that Asian and Pacific Islander bill. You didn't hear their media talking about you need to get more seats. And so this idea that you're going in underneath the bar, which is the standard. You're going underneath the standard. Thank you, Chief Biko, as I'm continuing to do this. This is the problem. You're so infiltrated to the point that most of these people are not American. Kamala Harris should not be in the Black Congressional Caucus. She came out of an Indian woman's womb. How are you in our caucus as if your mother dealt with what my mom went through?
Right.
My grandmama. So what they're trying to do now through the military psychological program called schooling, they think that they've got enough of us dumbed down to a point where we can move them into people of color and make everybody with a little melanin part of this group. That's the military operation right now we're under.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. And like Chief Quietwater stated, everybody's allocated except for the actual American. And again, these people are our enemy. These are our number one main priority enemies right here. Right here, because they're the ones that's getting their pockets full while telling us to, making sure they're putting us in different directions.
Why they got us outside walking in the cold?
Correct.
In circles.
Let me meet somebody outside. Let me meet one of them outside.
Man, what?
So let's
That's why I
understand
be-
a couple questions for him.
what Chief Quietwater just talked about structure and Chief Akibelon. All your resources come through this group right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is your federal representation, whether you like it or not. The Black Caucus gets its federal resources first. That's the back row on our chessboard. The row in front of that back row for the chess players out there. The next row in front of that back row is going to be all your nonprofit organizations, your Black Lives Matter, your Al Sharpton. They get the resources and then they fund the nonprofits, and the nonprofits are to keep us confused off of them. This is the problem. This is the
Part of this confusion.
This is the problem.
The show was working for an
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Chief Akibelon.
Your phone breaking up.
Wait, what happened?
Your phone is breaking up.
All right, I heard my phone is breaking up. What said aside from that part?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the problem right here. If you trace the lineage of these people aren't American. I'm looking at about 10 of them right now. Now we can go a step further and we can find out who's actually on the financial committee. If we really want to get down to who's us in this neglected financial state.
Right.
Would it be under leadership or chairs?
I believe it'd be under leadership. Let's check it out. Vice chair, second chair. Let's see if they have anything.
Okay, we see the
Man,
second.
they need that one.
Oh, no, they have, trust me, there's a treasurer. Okay, so we got.
Let's look at them.
That's just the.
All just look washed. All of them look like they just say yes to everything.
Right. So okay. Let's go to leadership. Okay. All these people on that top row, your chairs, those are just your puppets.
Mm-hmm.
You can replace a chair with a preacher, president. That's just the figurehead of an organization. The people who run the organization are the secretary and the treasurer, because the secretary is going to take the minutes and the treasurer is going to handle the money. So they're not showing you who the treasurer is. They're showing you who the secretary is. So we need to find out on what page on this website, how do we get down to who's on the financial committee? Because they're the ones getting the resources from the United States government and misallocating them. Did y'all catch that?
Correct. Misallocating the resources. Stealing.
Budget appropriations and taxation.
Like Chief Biko said, they just fattening their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this misallocation going? To their pockets.
To the nonprofits. Scroll down. Let's see if we can see who's on the budget. Who's on the budget committee. And see what happens is as we educate ourselves, it's harder for them to hide. It's hard to steal when somebody's watching the money.
He said who's on the anything but find this.
So it's not showing it on there. But great point out. We'll get that. I'll do a little research on it so we can I want to say
Do they got contact
Maxine
information?
Waters. I want to say Maxine Waters is the on the financial committee.
Mm-hmm.
Do they got like emails you can email them at?
Oh, they're public servants. Yeah, they work for us. Yeah, they don't write anything.
Oh, cool. So I might ask them a little question. Like, why y'all not helping us for real?
Straight up the middle.
No, I'm being serious though.
Yeah, straight up the
I've
middle.
already
Being
done that.
serious.
I've
But they
done
probably
that.
saw your email and realized you
Did they
were older.
respond? Did they say anything? Did they say what's your concern?
Just a general email back, like a
Want some more?
Send
blanket statement type of email.
Mhm.
So they
That's just
already
how
got
they
an
kinda
auto
bypass.
responder. They typed up an auto responder. So
Right.
Which is 8 is. I swear to God.
Let's look at their agenda, y'all. Engaging community constructive dialogue, informing citizens of how they are impacted by actions, inactions in Congress and Trump administration, and mobilizing the next generation of Black leaders. What kind of agenda is that?
Mobilizing the next generation of Black leaders.
They have no agenda, is what they saying.
Pretty
Let's
much,
talk
because
about
what is
something.
that?
Let's
Right.
talk about it.
Let's conversate. Engaging communities in constructive dialogue.
Yeah.
Constructive dialogue? What are we talking? What do you mean? Like,
Again, that voter shit, fighting to expand.
See,
access. They're saying it right here, y'all, fighting to expand access to who?
that's
ballots through
crazy.
initiative.
Cause that's what I just did at this job that I work at. This little nonprofit.
What happened?
Just like it's this thing called get out the vote that we do, and it's basically just like you go to
I told you.
lower income areas and get people to like register to vote and stuff like that. And
Have them stand outside and wave little voting things.
well, nah, I ain't stand outside, but I was going door to door more than standing outside. But it's just like getting more people to vote, saying that we're fighting against voter suppression and stuff like that. But and then also saying we're nonpartisan. Also saying we're nonpartisan, saying that we're not on either side, but in reality, we have someone on a specific side that was funding us.
Clearly, it could be nonpartisan. Who are you representing? The Republicans or the Democrats? The left or the right?
That's
Who y'all talking
wild.
about? Who are we voting for?
now, was your funding for? I don't know if you would know this, Chief Akibalon, but was your funding
Oh,
coming?
I know everything.
Okay, was your funding coming from the state or the federal government?
I believe it was coming from the state because when we got paid for Thanksgiving, we didn't get paid on time because we were like the only people that worked on Thanksgiving. I mean, that got paid on Thanksgiving.
Right.
And we had to go through like hoops and jumps and everything to get paid because we were like the only people in Georgia that got paid.
Federal will probably pay you early.
And so what's happened, and great explanation. What's happened is you've gotten people that are claiming themselves to be organizers. That's a big money industry right now. Get a group of us out, give us a good speech, add a little bit of religion to it, and get the bag from the federal government tax-free because you're not.
I ain't gonna lie, I tried to start a nonprofit a while ago.
It's a good route to go. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you get a lot of free. You basically get free money.
Yeah.
But you just have to put. But you basically just have to push a specific narrative to get a bunch of that free money.
Correct.
That's how I feel.
Correct.
You got to be good with the money too. You can't just be out there getting that money and not allocating it in the right direction.
You know what? I will be back up there though.
Not necessarily. You don't have to be good with it. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. In a 501c3, one of the subsections under that, since we're talking about it, we snatching the sheets off everything. One of the terms and conditions of a 501c3 is you cannot go against the government. So if the United States government has a goal or an agenda not to neglect us, that's why you never hear your preachers going against the government about the treatment of us. Why? It stops your financial government. You can't go against the government and get the money at the same time. So we done figured y'all out. You see what I'm saying? Basically done figured you out. We done figured you out.
Facts.
Money free. You can sell God and pay no taxes as long as you don't go against the United States
As
government.
long as you don't go against us. Yeah. We'll give
It's
you whatever.
gangster money.
We'll make it rain. Yeah.
That's
Shout
mafia
out to the
money,
preachers.
basically.
Yeah. Shout out to your preachers on every corner.
We ain't doing nothing.
Hey, I was one of them. I ain't gonna lie.
We ain't doing nothing.
I got to get up out of here, guys. Today was a great night. I'm gonna go ahead and lock it down. About to head out. So
You better go party.
Nah, man, I ain't going nowhere.
Go free some prisoners of war.
Jawan a slick little FBI agent over there, ain't he?
I'm just
I ain't
playing.
Chief Akibalon. Don't keep on me in Africa, right? How long?
Yeah, I told you I'll be with the car. I'll be seeing people. I just be making sure people be doing their due diligence. I saw the truck outside. I was making sure I ain't seen no Europeans around.
I wish I would have saw y'all, man. I would have been so happy. Like I would have been like, oh my God. My friends in person.
That's funny.
Oh, funny.
That was funny because when Chief, we getting off topic on the live, but when Chief Alligator told me, I couldn't do nothing but laugh because I know y'all was probably like, "Oh, he out here just doing what he want." Nah,
I wasn't
I
doing
am
that.
doing what I want.
That's your life. I'm not about to be like, hey guys, I see a chief out there supporting my white business. Like, I don't care. That's your life at the end of the day.
All that's white.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna still